Tom, welcome to the London Retired Police Dogs Trust. You were announced as an ambassador a week or so ago. What is it about this organisation that made you want to be part of it?
It's a really simple answer. It's the people and it's the animals. I knew very little about retired police dogs up until I was invited out by Phil, one of the founder members of the London Retired Police Dogs Trust. And when we were out on a ride along, he was explaining to me not only the work that he does, but also some of the tensions and challenges in retirement for the service animals. And it was just one of those light bulb moments where I came away from that experience and I felt compelled to try and raise awareness or to try and support as best I can, because the dogs themselves are heroic in their work and also the time that they give, the service that they give. And if we're going to ask these animals to give that length of service and to do the work that they do, we need to make sure that they have the most wonderful retirement and are cared for. And it's a really tricky situation and an expensive situation as well sometimes, because the dogs pick up various injuries and ailments and so forth, and they're not always covered in retirement by insurance companies. And a lot of the time it's the handlers that are taking on the upkeep of the dogs when they retire and become pets, and that cost is falling onto the heads of those handlers and all the keepers. And the charity does a wonderful job, and there's other charities as well, but the London Retired Police Dogs charity does a wonderful job to raise money and to come together to fund some of the bills and the challenges that the handlers have around veterinary fees and so forth.
I mean, I'm an ambassador like yourself, and I was surprised when I got involved. I didn't realise that was the situation, that when the dogs go into retirement, that their medical bills and stuff are not accounted for. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, I really would like to be involved. And I think Phil and Emma that run the trust have done an amazing job because they're so involved in the dogs' lives.
I think that's the sort of bond that you see straight away, that not only the working bond, but that bond then carries on in retirement, because as I said, a lot of the handlers actually take the dogs on as pets once they retire from service. But that bond is magical, and when you see it, and it sounds a bit like a Hollywood movie, but you can see the love not only in the handler's eyes, but in the dog's eyes as well. The way they look at their handler, the way they behave, the bond is so strong and so special, and they are part of the family, and that love, that care carries on. And as I said, that love and care and responsibility is really expensive, and those veterinary bills don't look after themselves. And I've heard of handlers having to remortgage their house or do various different things, empty their savings, and the charity goes a long way to making sure that those situations don't happen and make sure that the dogs get the care that they need, but also the handlers are not out of pocket for that sort of love, care and duty that they see as owners and handlers.
Because the dogs really, when they're in active service, they're so crucial to life for all of us really, and there's so much bravery in what the dogs have to do in the situations they're put in. So it's not difficult, is it, to want to support something like this?
No, and the skills that they have. I mean, the level of training is phenomenal, but when you go and see the dogs and you see firsthand the talent that they have, the skill sets that they have, that they're invaluable, and the service that they provide. I mean, policing just wouldn't be the same without it. That their ability to not just, and they're multi-purpose. So it's not just to protect and or to chase suspects, catch suspects. It's whether or not you've got blood dogs, dogs searching for money, for firearms, terrorism. There's such a spectrum of deliverables, and the dogs are just so wonderful at what they do, and they love what they do as well. They honestly do. You've got to see it to believe it. And you know, as soon as I saw that there was just a part of me that wanted to support Phil and Emma and everyone really, and the dogs, because they deserve it more than anyone. They really are unsung heroes.
They certainly are. And Tom, what would you say to anyone sort of watching this interview that thinks, wow, that's interesting, I'd like to get involved? What would you say to them, and how would they do that?
Yeah, just be inquisitive. I mean, as I said, I knew nothing about this, and the reason it came about was I'm very inquisitive about situations I don't know too much about, and I've been on this journey for the last 8 years. Didn't know anything about policing before I started this journey. I went out on a ride along. I felt compelled off the back of that experience to showcase and tell the story of police officers, the tensions and challenges, wonderful people doing wonderful work in the most unimaginable of circumstances. That's how I connected with Phil, and the journey continues. So being inquisitive, I was able to get into the dog section and find out more about what was going on there. And you can then find whatever it is that takes your fancy in terms of what you feel compelled to do. I always say, if you're going to volunteer, whatever it is, you know, really feel compelled to do it. So be inquisitive, find out what it is that takes your fancy. But for me, if it is the dogs, you know, you can get in touch. The London Retired Police Dog Service are on Twitter, they're on social media, there's a website. Phil and Emma are wonderful. There's a growing following, there's a growing team of people behind it, of which we're just tiny parts, because the amount of effort that Phil and Emma put in is just unimaginable. It's really inspirational. But anything in terms of whether or not you can give your time in today's day and age with the cost of living crisis, give a tiny amount, whatever it is. Please do keep an eye out on social media and or visit the website. And if you can give anything, please do get in touch.
Tom, it's been great chatting to you today. And again, welcome on board as one of the supporters. This will be a really exciting project to be part of the legacy of.
Thank you.